Hello everyone, welcome back. I apologize for canceling my stream last week. I had a user group talk that needed to be prepared, and unfortunately the only prep time I was going to get was going to be Wednesday evening. So ended up doing user group prep there. It'll probably be posted on YouTube. It may already be up. We'll look in a minute. I don't recall if it's actually posted or not. So we will find out. Couple announcements. So Material Design and XAML release 471 went out the door. I was super happy with the pipeline and the automation and everything. It went swimmingly. It was exactly as my heart desired. There's a few more things I'd love to add to it, but right now it is absolutely awesome. I think I am finally at the point where I've talked many times about wanting to do quicker releases more often, and oftentimes the release process was just slow because it took so much of my time. I couldn't just, send it out the door willy-nilly. I had to be able to have like an hour or something to be able to devote to make it, to do all the steps, make sure everything was updated, get it all published, and it's too much work, way too much work. So 471 is out. On the repo, I created a 480 milestone as well as the 5x milestone. So we're going to start working on the 5.0 release. There's going to be a 5.0 branch that I'm going to constantly rebase on top of master just as we go to keep things up to date. The only reason for the 4.8 milestone is if it turns out that something comes up where I want to kick a release, anything that's not a breaking change, I'm going to put in the 4.8 release. And anything that is a breaking change, I'm going to put in 5.0 and just have 5.0 just constantly rebased. That way, as soon as all of the 5.0 stuff is ready, I can just fast forward master. It'll be easy, push it, be done. And then we can go forward. But if there needs to be a release midstream, I can still release like a 4.8, 4.7.2, whatever that needs to be without actually breaking everything. So we're going to start in on some of those processes tonight. May not go too long. I got to talk tomorrow that I also have to prep for. I need to quit doing talks on Thursdays. They really mess up Wednesday night. See, there was one more thing. Real quick before we dive back. So the MVVM toolkit. I had a video a while back where I talked about all of the cool stuff in the 8.0 release. Yesterday, they kicked out the 8.1 release, and today there is a blog post about it. So give it a look. I am planning on doing a video devoted just to this 8.1 release because this whole library is just awesome. It makes doing MVVM so much simpler. I wish this is something we had a long time ago, but obviously this is built on newer tech, source generators, things that only existed recently, so there's a little bit of a limitation there. But 8.1 is out, release is coming. I plan on getting all of my stuff updated to 8.1. What I've seen so far is 8.1 you can just drop in over the top of 8. It is 8.0 with newer stuff. But at least the two projects I've seen so far, my Dependabot updates, ran through, updated 8.1, all my previous stuff and all the tests passed. So I went, ship it. So yeah, so without spending a lot of time going through it, it looks like 8.1 is literally 8.0 plus cool new stuff. And so we will do a stream devoted to 8.1 and we'll explore all of the cool, awesome new stuff that's there. Okay, for anybody who was watching the prep, brain teaser time. So this is an old one that I've had for a long time sitting around kind of in my back pocket. It's one of my favorite ones to pull out simply because it bends the mind a little bit and it requires a little bit of cheating. So this is a fairly old one. It works in a lot of old versions of C# and .NET. You don't need anything new to make this one work. But the fundamental crux of the problem is we have a constant string, and strings in C# are immutable. You cannot mutate a string. You can get a new instance of a string and change it. But in this case, we would like to turn Kevin into Grant. And so we just have a simple method here where we have to cause an identity crisis. Pretty simple, right? So we're going to pass this in, and somehow passing in this string needs to change the string into from Kevin into Grant. Right? So the first thing to note with this is this method is a void return. So the only way something like this is going to work, and you don't need to touch the unit test at all. Everything can be done right inside of this cause identity crisis method. This method here all you end up needing to do is, because we're looking to actually mutate the string, there's kind of a hidden hint in there. In order to actually do this, if you think outside of C# isms and into lower level stuff, effectively what we'd like to do is change the characters at the memory location where these strings are stored. And I've got a little, I cheated and wrote it ahead of time. Copy, paste. Oop, too many closing braces. So, the simple thing here is we can come up here and we can go, okay, let's do a little bit of cheating. We can come up here and say, well, let's pass this in. And you'll note my test immediately goes green. So what it ends up doing is it passes in the string. And then down here we drop into unsafe code. And this is the kicker. And once you get into unsafe code, a lot of the guardrails for C# come off. It's like, well, we tried to keep you safe. You asked to be unsafe. Okay, have at it. And off to the races we go. So get a pointer to the location where this source is located. The fixed keyword in C# pins the pointer because like the garbage collector can move stuff around on you. And this just tells it, hey, no, we're actually using this memory location. Please don't shift stuff around on me. I'm using this. Hands off. So we pin it in place for a moment just so that we can use it without it moving around. And then we just iterate through the source string. And we say, well, or I should say, iterate through the string, copying the characters from our target string into the address of our source string. And so you'll note, by virtue, we go KEVIN, turns into GRANT. And there's a subtle trick I employed here in that both of these strings are of equal length. This doesn't really work very well when you get strings of different length. Because when you've created the string, it's allocated something to hold 5 characters. So I can swap those 5 characters nice and easy. But the moment you say I want it bigger or smaller, then things get a little more interesting. So there's the fun brain teaser. And if anybody wants to have fun with part 2, here's the same problem, only do it without passing the parameter. So turn Kelly into Chris, but do it entirely in a void method without passing anything in. How hard could it be? And make this test pass. So there's a clever trick to that. We'll circle back to it a little later. See? Leave people in suspense. Makes them want to stick around longer. Or I don't know, maybe. But very simple. Constant string, Kelly, call a void method, and then have that constant string have a different value. How hard could it be? All we have to do is change a constant. It's a constant after all. Why is this thing indented funny? Oh, it's probably because I did when I pasted my extra curly brace, it got all confused. So we'll leave that there, circle back to it. Okay, so let's take a look at the material design stuff. I am realizing so there's the 4.7 release, huzzah. I am realizing I probably didn't rev the versions for a 4.8. So I'm still not 100% happy with this, and I've yet to come up with a good way of doing this. But for now, the version numbers are all stored here. So I think what we're going to do is we're just going to do this. We're going to just bump this to a 4.8. The other ones have already been bumped. I'm just going to do that. Call it a day. That way we don't have to think too hard. Yeah, commit directly into master. Don't normally do that. That's bad. But in this case, how much can go wrong just changing a 4.7.2 into a 4.8? So that'll go. That way the preview versions that kick off on nightly releases actually come out with the 4.8. Okay, so let's jump back here. We're going to come over to this repo and then hey, fetch. There. Okay, we're going to bump. So I've got this 5.0 branch that I had sitting out there. So that's going to hang out there for now, and we're going to start just cleaning stuff up because this is going to make a mess. I fully anticipate this making a mess. Yeah, so let's go 5.0 breaking changes. And we're going to start killing some of the stuff. Draw drawer host open modal. And let's go back in here. This is going to start with just nuking some obsolete members. We're going to file scope some namespaces while we're in here. Just do a quick build, make sure we don't run in theory, everything's done using the obsolete members, but we'll just confirm that really quick. Yeah, why is that a problem? I understand your idea of wanting it with rule description. Oh, so it wants it defined that way. Okay. That's fine. I get it. That makes sense. We can do that. See, sometimes it's good to look at the warnings. It gives you information. It makes sense. If define it by name, that way if this changes, this one changes with it, and it's clear that these two are intended to match rather than them just implicitly matching. So, okay. I get it. I get it. I get it. Okay, so let's go here. We're on the 5.0. Let's see. Removing that guy. Modal. All right, that was the name of it. MODEL, yeah. We had the typo. And push. If anyone else wants to bite off any of these 5.0 ones, feel free to do so. My only ask is that when you open the PR, comment that it's meant for 5.0 and ideally target the 5.0 branch as the target of the PR rather than the master branch. Let's see. So we're going to start cleaning some of these things up. So this guy. Boom. Because it will be nice to... Hey, why are you off on the... Stay where I can see you. That had a space on the end. Stop it. Okay, so you are... Both of you are obsolete. Great. Let's come here. Obsolete. Toolbar styles. Boom. And check that one off. What was these ones? All of these classes making them static. Yeah, because there's no reason not to. So let's do this. We may end up... Some of these may end up getting changed a little bit, but I don't want to lose track of doing this if they don't change. So... Step 1. File scope the namespace. Dedik. This is going to be a problem if we do that because this guy is going to want an interface. I might punt on this one then for the moment. Because there's going to be some theming changes that all happen together here. So let's discard this line. I am thinking what I might do, though, is I might... can I apply... Wow. Easy, easy, Copilot, easy. Convert to file scope namespace, do everything in the project. We're just going to do that really quick. Because I think that will go a long way. Let's see. File scope namespace for material design colors. WPF. Like, I am fully aware and expecting that this thing is going to become a merge conflict if I merge stuff into master. So, fully expecting that, fully anticipating it. I'm okay with it. At some point, I got to kick the bear. Let's see. Update menu item to use theme brush for hover rather than deriving from foreground. We're not going to do these because that's going to require going into the brushes stuff. Let's do this one. Assist and extensions. So I think assist is by far more common than extensions, but let's just confirm that. I think what I want to do, let's see, assist. I don't know how many that is, but scroll bar is only about halfway down. And if we look at extensions, let's see, dependencies don't count. Dependencies don't count. Dependencies don't count. Yeah, the scroll bar doesn't even scroll. So I think we're going to change this guy up to do assist rather than extensions, at least in the main app. I may leave the demo ones around. Let's see, this one, go here. This is a little less concerning because this guy is internal. Oh, stop it. Don't help me. Let's see, what are you here? Okay, so this is visual tree stuff. More visual tree stuff. Visual ancestry, logical tree. I'm thinking we call this tree mixins. Not really clear, is it? Visual tree mixins. That seems better. What? What? Didn't I just change you? Visual. Hello? Why are you? Visual tree. Enter to rename. Shift enter. Enter. Sorry, what? Okay, we're gonna close you. Do that. Okay. This is not helpful, Visual Studio. This, not helpful. Not helpful. Let's see. Sorry, do you just hate renaming today? I don't know what I'm doing wrong. It's like it's lost its mind. Okay, let's go with Shift Enter. Apply. And it just says no. I'm sorry. Since when do you get to choose which ones you're going to? Let's discard changes. Discard changes. Okay. I'm wondering if it's because I did the file scope namespace first. Wow, you dumb. Okay. Zero me in. Do it here. Rename. Yes. Okay, apparently that works just fine. Hey, Justin Bieber. Let's see, side question. What framework would you recommend for a large project? React, Angular, etc. The one you know is usually the best. So, sorry, I'm going to think through this for just a moment before I get too deep into it. Yeah, I mean, in a lot of cases, I think it it would depend on the people working on the project and if they have any knowledge or expertise in a particular framework. Now, with that said, you get two people on a project that have differing opinions, and there the flame wars start. I don't know if there is. I don't know if I know the intricacies well enough to say between like React, Angular, like the pros and cons of each. Yeah. No knowledge, you can take any. Okay. My gut reaction would lean slightly towards React. And again, I don't know if I'm necessarily if I have enough knowledge or expertise to push one much stronger than another. You can get away with a lot. The Vue is actually quite popular as well, Vue. And I know at least I've got a bunch of colleagues that do a lot of work with it, and it works rather well. React is incredibly popular. You're going to find plenty of information out there. I guess some guidelines I would put is any of the big modern ones that are actively being maintained are not going to steer you wrong, because there's a reason they're big and actively maintained. So modern versions of Angular, because you don't want to be on ye olde version of Angular. That's bad too. React or Vue would probably be, I think, any of those. I know when we teach, especially if you're saying no knowledge, as in the team could go any direction. When we teach people, we tend to lean towards Vue just slightly because it is lightweight. It's a little easier to pick up and learn, or at least that's been our experience, is people learn it a little bit easier. So maybe if the team's coming at it without a lot of prior experience, that might be a way to go as well, because you can get away with a lot that way. The other thing that may be worth looking at is Blazor. Again, depending on team knowledge and expertise and exactly what you're building, Blazor is the new hotness with the WebAssembly stuff. So, because I think you were on some of those prior streams where I was doing Blazor for like the Pointer program, or I even did a video on some of the hackathon, the Minesweeper, the Kaboom project as well. Both of those were done in Blazor, and I know in my day job we have a client that, and I don't know exactly how big they are. They service quite a few users per day. I don't know the exact numbers, but they're running in a Blazor app. Now, with all these frameworks, it's very possible to write bad code. So some people will say, oh, that framework sucks because it's too slow and can't handle load and yada, yada, yada. More often than not, things being slow or not handling load are due to poorly structured things, not necessarily the platform or framework. It was very unpleasant, Blazor. Yeah, and that's the thing with Blazor. Blazor is awesome. It is getting a lot of love from Microsoft. Some things in Blazor are stupid easy because you can start sharing your C# code right into the browser. And so you can leverage all of that knowledge. So if the team has a lot of C# knowledge, that can go a long way, because then you're just left to figuring out, well, okay, now I only have to learn HTML and CSS and figure out how to make it look right. Versus trying to learn, a front-end framework on top of everything else. The thing with Blazor, though, is you can get yourself into some fun situations. Even though you can interrupt all the way down to JavaScript, some things that you would think would be easy can be really hard. And just because you can compile the C# into WebAssembly doesn't mean it actually works in the browser. So there are some bits of C# that just flagrantly don't work. So, for example, the one that comes to mind immediately are the default Azure credentials class from the Azure Identity NuGet package, I think is what it is. If you use that class in most other applications, backend server, desktop app, it will handle doing the MSAL, the Microsoft Authentication Language, MSAL. I might have that acronym wrong. Don't quote me. But it'll deal with getting the credentials so that a user can go through their two-factor auth, all of that jazz, so that you can get appropriate tokens to interact with Azure resources. Great. Doesn't work in Blazor because you're in this sandboxed environment. It can't get what it needs. So there's things like that where it'll compile and then it just won't work. So some things in Blazor are definitely more difficult, and there's workarounds. The solution is just don't use that class, go back and do it the old browser way. I mean, that works, but it's one of those things that it feels harder because you're in C# and you want the pleasantness of C#. So depending on what you're building, Blazor is, I would say, a contender. If the team has no experience, maybe push Vue. If the team has some web experience, like React is very good. So that might be my general guidelines on which way to land, for what little of that's worth. Let's see. I lost my place. That's right. We're just gonna hunt extensions. We're gonna go here. Stop it. Yeah, no problem. Always happy. And like I said, I do not do a ton of web front end work. Yeah, hush down. And on one hand, people can very easily argue, well, web front end work, that's like ubiquitous. Everybody needs that. And it's true. It is like people who hear that I love WPF go, really? WPF? There's not as many WPF jobs. It's like, right, but I'm also not competing with nearly as many people. So yeah, there's fewer WPF jobs, but the ones that have them don't, like, it is really hard to find somebody with a lot of experience in WPF. Really hard. Whereas you can usually find competent web developers. They're a little bit easier to come by because there's a lot of them. So 6 to 1, half a dozen the other. Let's see, this is the one we were going to go visual tree mixins. I don't really care too much because this is internal, so it's not really going to show much. Let's see, this is another one that is internal, so not going to stress too much about it. I'm going to do that. This one's public. This one might break people. And most of the time, because these are extension methods, this is going to be source backwards compatible. So if somebody was previously using this, it'll still work. But it probably won't break too many people, but it is a breaking change, so we got to treat it as such. Because if anybody was invoking this this extension method via static invocation, yep, we're gonna break them. Let's see, UI, what is this? Add adorner. I'm kind of tempted. I think I'm gonna rename this adorner mixins. I think that more accurately reflects what it is. Let's see. Rename this Adorner mixins. Okay. Let's just rename this. I don't know why that went in like that. I don't like expression body for constructors. I do like the idea of doing this on the name though. Okay, clean that up, clean that up, clean that up. Okay, I missed one. File scope the namespace. Okay, so we're gonna do that. I'll go there. I think that I'm just kind of briefly scanning a lot of these, looking for, and I know this is going to run amok with the color stuff that I want to do, but deal with the conflicts as they come. Let's see. Rename all star extensions to star mixins. Boom, boom, boom. Push. That'll send that going. Okay, let's look. So that is done. Let's go kill this combo box pop-up obsolete members, I think. That'll be an easy one to whack. Okay. File scope the namespace. I will eventually get them all. And then let's see, what is obsolete? You are obsolete. You are obsolete. You are still good. Obsolete. Okay. Kill those off. Classic mode. That's gone. Okay. Let's just make sure we still build okay. I think that will get I'll get all of those cleaned up. Oh, we did not kill it. Classic mode true is still being set. Let's just take a quick look-see here. That was pop up classic mode here. So it's being set to true, but then I guess the question is it being consumed anywhere? So it's being set, but is it being consumed? These guys here. Okay. Let's keep hunting this. And then this is the only guy here. Find classic mode. Where's the repeat find? Find all. Okay, so this guy here is demo app. This is obviously doing nothing. I'm curious. I'm gonna stash this real quick. I want to test and confirm that property really isn't doing anything since it's still being used in the demo app. I'm curious if we just forgot to clear this out of the demo when we added it, which is very possible. Okay, classic mode. Yeah, so this guy has no effect anymore. Yeah, so this just needs to be completely whacked. Okay. Okay, so pop stash. And we are just going to go whoop, and that whole thing is going to die. What are you unhappy about? Initialization, something, something, something. Should come back and look at that and see what it's complaining about, but also not directly on the docket. And we're going to just clean this guy up as well. One of the things that I'd love to do is combine the demo apps. We separated them out because it is not trivial to do app level settings. Because how do you set the default style for things like a combo box with both Material Design 2 and Material Design 3? But I was also realizing that by having them separate, it makes it a lot harder for people to discover. And I almost want to start laying them out in the same app. I don't quite know how to do it though, but I'd like to collapse. That's a goal. I don't think we're there yet. Okay, so let's do that. I think we're good. That go. That guy drops. Obsolete. Lots of obsoletes. File scope namespaces. And then pro tip for anybody dealing with migrations to file scope namespaces, all diff tools that are worth their salt have an ignore white space flag somewhere. So if you don't know where it is in your diff tool, go hunting. Get cracking, it's right here. Nice and easy. Also, if you are on a Mac and using Get Kraken, you probably want to upgrade to 901 if you aren't already there. There was a, trying to remember the exact details, there was a performance issue around if you had your theme set to follow the OS theme, if I remember correctly. That looks good to me. Let's see, removing obsolete combo box members. Great. Push. Kill off another one. Let's see. Remove combo box placement. Probably do that too. That's probably an easy one to knock out. I realize I'm taking all the easy ones. I've had a rough week. So it's been a lot. So I'm stealing the easy ones, darn it. Why are you? Oh, because I got a filter set. Combo box placement. You claim to be obsolete. Deleted. And I think in the most part, the other thing we may do is just do a quick search for obsolete, because anything that was obsolete in a 4.0 version, I've now done 2 releases. That's everybody's warning to stop using obsolete stuff. Pretty much every major rev of this library, you can probably assume that I'm going to delete every obsolete member from the library at that point. So just so that things move forward. If I get really fancy, I've thought about building a little bit of a migration tool for people. At a minimum, I'm going to try to document this stuff. Some of these things, like these combo box things, the migration is stop using it. And for the combo box stuff, I'm pretty sure nobody was using it, or people rolled back the old template or similar because they've stopped having an effect in the latest releases. Let's see. Removed combo box pop-up placement. Boom, 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 boom. Here we go. Let's see. We'll get to those in a minute. Pop-up content up template, pop-up content down template. Let's go and have. Let's just go. There we are. Up and down. Both of those guys go away. Do you use any frameworks, prisms on your or your own on WPF projects? Yes. 1 second. I thought about actually covering that exact topic on my stream tonight, but because I have less time than usual, I decided against it. Let me get this committed and I'll show you. Let's see. Obsolete templates. Boom. Okay, so you see I've got this little tab sitting right here. View origin on GitHub. So this repo here, I have started putting together this. So fair warning, this is going to be an opinionated WPF app setup. So this is the way Kevin likes to build his WPF apps. And I intentionally named it .NET templates because I have grand ideas of adding more than just WPF app templates. Like there's a lot of projects, files, structures that I'm opinionated and think are best. And so I wanted to start capturing those in templates so I can go .NET new space whatever. And away we go. So this here is a WPF app set up with all of the stuff I like to use. And there's a couple more things that I still want to add to it because there's not quite enough here. Like I'm trying to balance there's a subtle balance between how much do you want in your starting default template when you go .NET New that you have to delete, but I also want enough there so that it's clear to everybody, hey, this is the pattern, right? This is what I normally do, but feel free to delete it. Like, I've contemplated bringing in Entity Framework, but I'm thinking that's going to be a separate template. I contemplated bringing in HTTP client. You can't decide if that should be part of the main template or if that should be something additional. So there's things like that where I'm like, I can't decide. So, because those are fairly common use cases. I want to use a database. I want to make a web service call. That kind of happens a lot. Like, what's the libraries and frameworks? So there is a lot packaged into here, but the directory packages props, this will show you every NuGet package used inside of this template. So because I'm using centralized package management, all of the packages are here. So you can see Community Toolkit, MVVM. This is about to be 8.1. Material design themes, because I like my material design library. It's Birdie. Bringing in the Microsoft dependency injection and hosting. Mock and AutoMocker and XUnit for unit testing. Again, these are opinionated things of what I like to use. People can, I tried to put this template together where people can look at it, and I'm either going to make some videos or some blog posts, maybe both, basically walking through, because there's a lot that I've compacted into this tiny little sample. Like, I just skirted over the, yeah, we're using centralized package management. What is that? How do you use it? Right? I left comments in here for if people want to have a hierarchy of like your directory build props and your targets. So I've loaded this thing up. I've set this guy up with like C# lang version, nullable reference types enabled, implicit usings, user secrets. So there's a lot of stuff that I've embedded in here that I would like to go through and explain of, here's what I picked, here's why. If you don't like it, like, this is a starting template. Change it to your heart's content. But at least in terms of frameworks and libraries, this is generally what I like to use. Some people really like Prism. So let me back up. I think Prism and Caliburn, but I think Caliburn has largely fallen out of. I don't remember the last time I saw a Caliburn update, or because like Caliburn or Caliburn Micro were all the rage, like, I don't know, 7-8 years ago, with people thinking they were awesome. I never did like them. Prism is good, but if you're going to use Prism, I think you jump in with both feet and use Prism. Prism isn't one. I've never seen somebody use Prism successfully and only go halfway. Like, Prism is another somewhat opinionated framework on, here's how I'm going to structure my app. Here's how I'm going to lay out the navigation between things. And as long as you go both feet in with Prism, people can be quite successful with it. I just wouldn't go halfway. And I tend to not necessarily, like, I like to do things a little differently than how Prism does them. And so it's like, do I want it? I don't want to go Prism halfway because I know that sucks. So I usually end up opting not to, but nothing against Prism. Prism is, I've seen plenty of people use Prism quite effectively, and it can be quite good when used as it was designed. Small caveat there. Use it as it's designed. I've seen people use it horribly, and that ends badly. Don't do that. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff bundled in here, and I need to clean up some of this stuff for the templating engine, like have it gen a new GUID and all of that kind of thing. So there's kind of little things that are being dropped all over here that I would love to go through and write things out. Even something as simple as, let me set up my editor config with the way that I want. I was contemplating even going as far as plugging in like XAML styler into this as well, so that that's already plugged in and ready to go. Again, I'm trying to balance how much I should put in versus how much maybe I should make it as a separate template. Like, technically with the .NET new templates, you can add flags to like turn features on and off, but then in the files you have to if-def them appropriately. It's like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what is the correct size for a default template. And for example, I tried to lay out a very simple view model with at least an observable property and a relay command, a very simple UI. Because again, I want enough there that it shows kind of the right way to do things, but I also don't want to make this have so much in it that it's obnoxious to delete everything. Because if you don't want all of this, it should be relatively easy to pull out the bits that you don't want. That's my thinking. So, but again, it's set up with like the material design stuff and all of that. So yeah, either way, like I said, to each his own. It also has unit tests and shows how to set up the tests and do the null argument tests and all of that stuff. So, and I think I want to change up. There's a few things in here that I want to make sure get set appropriately. Like it's doing null argument tests against this constructor, but this constructor doesn't have any arguments. So it's kind of wasteful. And I was thinking I might try to plug something in with like iMessenger or similar. The other big thing that this does is it sets up the WPF app with the host builder with the DI injection. But this is the simple way of doing the DI injection. There's a cleaner approach where you write extension methods for all of these, and I like that pattern a little better, so this is probably going to change. So there's little things I just haven't quite got it where I want it. I've built one app with it so far, and I ended up changing some stuff in that app after I ran the template, so I kind of want to go back and look at that app and kind of compare and contrast. Okay, what did I not like? What did I need to change? But this is at least close to how I like to build and structure the apps. Great question. Let's see. We removed those. Remove obsolete brushes. We're not going to touch that. Replace accent with secondary. Not going to touch that. Remove material design, navigation rail, tab control. Yeah, no problem. Like I really enjoy building. I enjoy building tools for developers. Like that's something I actually really like doing. So you'll note a lot of my GitHub tends to be libraries and frameworks and things like that because I really like building those types of things. That's just me though. And I'm fully aware that I'm weird and not normal. I've accepted that. Okay, so this is going to go. This will be deleted in the 5.0 release. Yes, it will be. Let's see. Let's go back here. Stage all changes. Remove. Get that going. Get that going. That going. That going. Let's see. Rating bar button is within selected value. We can axe that as well. We're gonna just keep nuking stuff. Now, why did I list this on the list of things to be axed? Let's see. This property is being set here is no longer used. I would have just removed it. Ah. Got it. So that's what it is. Got it. Periodically reminding people of your work on streams when there are more people. I need to get better at that. I've actually been playing around with updating some stuff on my streaming setup just to kind of clean things up. Like I don't know if people noticed, but for example, I made a background image. I don't know if I like it. I made it and went, eh. But there may be stuff. I showed it to my wife and she went, eh. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of, I wasn't thrilled with my own work either. But there was, I got some, I got some feedback, like the blue one that I often use with the small text on the background. It's actually an old one from my, a designer who used to work at the same company as me. He made it a long time ago and I saw it and I'm like, that's awesome. I'm stealing that. He's like, go for it. Use it wherever. I was like, sweet. So I did. But it's one of those, like, people have commented, hey, when I'm watching on like a small screen, there's no way I can read all of that text. Oh, the Christmas squirrel. That was cool. Thank you. Yes. The GitHub ship it squirrel that I have named Robert Dr. Frankenstein, and have named him my Christmas squirrel. I really should make little emojis of him and do it. That seems like an appropriate thing that should happen. Let's see. Repeat find. Find all. Did I get them all? Nope. Now I got them all. Hopefully that cleans all this up. And are you guys all... And see, I'm getting twitchy now. I see 8 spaces here. 8 spaces. And I immediately go, nope. We gotta file scope that namespace. Boom. 4 spaces. All the things. I've gotten way too twitchy. And I just kind of briefly scanned some of these. Use pattern matching. What are you proposing here? Parameter is int. Oh, it actually wants me to... Okay. We'll pattern match that beast out. That seems appropriate. Good suggestion. Good suggestion. Where is... Just kind of briefly scanning through here, looking to see if IntelliSense wants to flag anything else for me. So, do it in the current document. Yeah, we'll just expression body the things. I would prefer if this was an is null. So this is something worth calling out too. Equals null is normally okay. The issue with equals null is the equals operator can be overridden. And normally it's not a big issue. Most people don't override the equals operator. However, because record types now exist, there's a lot more types out there with overridden equality operators. So the way to check against null, you could always go back to a reference equals, right, and do this maneuver. Like, that's a thing, and that guarantees that this check will always be reference equality. But a much simpler solution is just is null. The pattern match will also guarantee a reference equality against null. Yes, and I was playing around because I do have the what was it, the Stream Elements bot set up to go through and do some things, and I need to play around with it. As a developer, I keep resisting the urge to go, hey, I'll just write that integration myself. I need to learn to stop doing that because I do it a lot and it's bad. But like my countdown timer at the beginning of the stream, yeah, I wrote that because like I found a couple programs online, and then when I realized that all most people do for their countdown timers, there's various ways people go about doing it. A web-based HTML approach is one option, but the dirt simple approach in OBS is you have a file and you write to the file, and there's a file watcher in OBS that just reads the contents of the file and dumps it to the screen. So you write a little command line app that does a countdown timer, and it counts down. And then I've got one of those programmable buttons sitting next to me, so I've got it pre-programmed to invoke my CLI app with a countdown to my usual starting time. So when I sit down getting ready to stream, I just click through 4 buttons to make sure everything's still good to go, hit the button for start countdown timer, and hit start streaming. It's mwah. Like, when automation works well, it is so amazing. Makes me so happy. Did I spend probably way too long doing that? Yes. Was it awesome? It makes me feel good every time I click the button? Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, just scanning this. While I'm in here, I always have to clean stuff up. I very much subscribe to the Boy Scout rule of leave code cleaner than you found it. That looks ugly. Let's do that. It's a long line. See, same thing. Little ugly. Like, I like expression-bodied members, but I tend to like putting my lambda on the next line down. Otherwise, things tend to get lost. What are you suggesting? And or parameter name. So argument out of range. What is this thing going on? I don't think we can really do a reasonable out of parameter name here because this is coming in. I mean, I could do like a name of values, but yuck, that's yucky. That's yucky. This is a internal class anyway, not a big deal. Not a big deal. Might be worth breaking into a partial just so that I can get them out of what is already a nearly 500 line long file, but yeah, whatever. Let's see. Take this, take this, take this. Few changes, stage all. Removed. Boom. 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 Okay. There's that. There's that. There's that. Okay. That's going there. Remove obsolete members from flyout assist. I would love to remove more obsolete members. Oh, file scope namespace. Boom. Let's see. So you're obsolete. You're obsolete. We're just gonna go. Boom. Sure, you all die. Yeah, so let's double check because this is also here. Oh, did I already convert to file scope namespace? Do this whole project. This is a tiny project, so we're just gonna hit them all at once. Okay. Let me just make sure that that was. Yep. That is good to go. The other thing I'd love to change up on the material design project in terms of automation is at one point in time, there was this idea that we could release all three of the NuGet packages independently. And just due to versioning dependencies, I axe that ability in favor of easier deployments. And it really hasn't been that big of a deal. I mean, I don't know if I've ever come across a user that was like, well, I can only upgrade this package, but not this other one. Like most people, if they're updating NuGet packages, they're either updating all their things or they're updating none of their things. The halfway part is really rare. So I was contemplating going through and trying to put that back in so that ideally what I would love to do is set up some automation that looks for like new MAW apps releases and then automatically ingest those into ours, runs all the tests. If they're good, literally auto publish out. I'm very okay with getting preview packages out the door rapidly. So would love to get something like that plugged in, but haven't quite gotten that far yet. Okay, so let's go here. Let's see. Removed obsolete members from flyout assist. File scoped namespaces and MAW apps project. Boom. Ship that. There we go. Just cruising through these. Remove shadow depth. Okay. Shadow depth. Okay, so we're gonna file scope the namespace because I can, and I'm here. And I think it was largely dead to begin with. Nope. Apparently I got more. Oh, yeah, I got more obsolete members in here. Let's see. Oh, yeah, the attached property for shadow depth. That would kind of make sense. We should delete that. The other thing I was contemplating doing is trying to set up my nightly release process to kick out 5.0 preview packages because I don't know if that's going to confuse people or if it'll be okay, but it would be kind of nice to be able to have like 4.8 preview packages and 5.0 packages both going out at the same time. I don't know if people would want to start having something like that to start converting things over. This really doesn't need to be a switch statement anymore. There's only one element. We'll leave it. It could just go down to a simple pattern matched if. Because there's only like a switch that's only a if elevation or nothing. That's it. We call that an if statement. This is a complicated if statement. We'll leave it for now. Okay. And same thing here, it looks like. And then we're going to go here. Sorry, this was shadow convert. Oh, got it. Shadow converter. This guy is doing a drop shadow effect. Huh. I'm just wondering why I didn't freeze these elements. It's not like these things are set. Yeah. We're going to clean this up. And actually, we're going to do this. Go target type new. Because I know where this converter is used. And I don't see any reason why we shouldn't freeze the element. There's this nice little performance bump from that. The only time when you can't freeze an element is if you actually need it to change later. That's kind of rare. Same with this brush. All right, so hold on. What is this doing? This gets the elevation, get drop shadow. This pattern matches into drop shadow. This grabs the blur radius off the drop shadow. To do math with the blur radius to do this drawing. To create this drawing brush. Let's see. I'm going to freeze this too while we're in here. No point in making this harder than it needs to be. Okay. I may end up biting that or hating myself for making that change, but there's no way we should be modifying that downstream. And if we're going to do something that's a break in behavior, now's the time to do it. Okay, so... Oh, I guess I should actually compile. Make sure I got them all. I think I did. There was only those two. Oh, that was actually something that might be worth pointing out. So in all of my automation fun... Let's go here. I think I've made comments... I'm pretty sure I've made comments on stream before about how GitHub Actions won't daisy chain into each other. That is, if you have one action or one workflow that says creates a PR, it won't trigger the PR build for it. Well, I was reading through the docs and I realized that statement is slightly incorrect. It is true that that is how it works by default. However, you can change the default. So for example, the icon update workflow I did some work on. It doesn't do a whole lot. Checks out the repository, sets up .NET, great. Runs the icon generation from our resource gen project, great, nothing fancy there. Does a little git check to see after running that icon generation, were there changes, right? Did the result of running this cause us to create new pack icons? If the answer is yes, we drop into here and we do this pull request. And I switched from using a custom action to just using the GitHub CLI and got this all working, because you'll note the sets, or I should say, here, make that a little bigger, scroll down. This GitHub PR -- fill automatically creates a new pull request, fills the title and the description based upon the commit message. So you'll see these commit messages show up in PRs now. And then unfortunately, and I didn't understand the reasoning, but the GitHub CLI team decided that they didn't want to give you an autocomplete switch when you create the PR. They wanted to make it a separate command. Okay, sure, whatever. So you have to do PR merge, give it your branch, and then there's the auto flag. This is telling it to do the squash, and then delete the source branch when it merges. Now the problem with this is if this workflow runs and it's using just the defaults, it won't trigger the PR verification workflow, which means this auto merge never happens, which is what was happening previously, and that sucked. The fix, and I was so annoyed when I found it, is you generate don't use the GitHub context with the token property. If you generate an access token, then it works just fine and it will daisy chain. And I suspect that the rationale behind this, again, don't know for certain, but I would suspect that by doing this, this handles the issue of potential billing questions. For example, if you run a GitHub Actions on a private repository, you only get so many free build minutes per month. And I don't remember what it is. It's some really big number. I did the math at one point, and it was like if you ran for 20 hours a day, if you ran a single workflow for 20 hours a day for the whole month, that's like, it's a lot of minutes. I have some private repos that I run actions on. I don't come anywhere close to capping. Like, like the amount they give you for free is very generous, in my opinion. Very, very generous. And worst case scenario, like some people get all twitchy about making their stuff public. They're worried that somebody's going to either see it, steal it, laugh at them, whatever. There's so much stuff on GitHub. Most of the time, I don't stress about it. You'll get lost in the noise. But anyway, so that is the solution. If you use a personal access token for an account, that will properly trigger downstream workflows, the same as if that user had done the action. Which, perfect. So, generated a pat, stored it in a secret, problem solved. Mwah. Very easy. Very easy. Didn't have to change the rest of this. So, okay. Back you up a little so I can actually see what I'm doing. Okay. Did we actually commit the shadow depth thing? No. Did we verify we built afterwards? Yes. Excellent. Okay. Let's see. Moved shadow depth. Great. Commit. Push. We go. Okay, so I think we're gonna go back to this 5.0 changes. And I think we're gonna leave a comment. I think I'm actually gonna put it up here. There is an existing 5.0 branch where these changes are being made. Once we are a little closer to the release, this branch will be merged into master. Probably put the little tickies on it so that it looks code-like. Anyone is welcome to pick up pass here and PR into the 5.0 branch. So if anyone would like to help, I do not turn down help offers. When there's this much work to do, you don't turn down help. Yeah, so a lot of these things, and then I think one of the other things that I want to do in the near future is going to be take that theme brush branch where I started building out the generation. And I think what we're going to end up doing is I want to build out some generation for the brushes and styles. There's so much that we have that is automatable. And there's actually a wiki page that's been broken, and I keep meaning to go and fix it. This all control styles. So there is a GitHub action that's supposed to run to generate this, but it's actually not working at the moment. And I was going to fix it, and then I realized that what I really want to do is build some generation such that we can not only know what styles there are, but what brushes are used in each of the styles. And I kind of want to build the generation starting from the style. The style declares the brush that it wants. The automation runs, reads all of the styles, finds the brushes in the styles, uses those to generate the theme classes and all of that stuff that we need. That way, all of that is set, right? That way, everything is built. It works correctly. There's no major changes. I'd like to plug it inside of MS Build so that it just automatically runs when you build the solution. I think that would be rather slick and nice to get all of that set up. And then it means that adding a new brush doesn't have to be this big ordeal. It can be as simple as adding a dynamic resource inside of one of the existing styles. You're done, right? By doing that, what I would like to see happen is then all of the theme code updates and generates and does all of that stuff. There may end up being a little bit that needs to be added, maybe because I've been contemplating like categories or helper methods to automatically do stuff, and some things may not get picked up for those. But those, as long as I'm seeing the diffs come in where MS Build has added, the new brushes and everything, I think that would be just fine. So that's where I think I want to go. Because then if I've already got the code running, that's ripping through the styles, that's generating the brushes, I've already got the code to do this, and then we're done. So I think that's going to be the slickest approach. I do also want to take one more look at, not this. Controls EX. Yeah, this guy, this library here. So this library here is the base library that MaApps uses. And this guy, do they have docs on it here? Like there's a couple nicety things that it has in here that may be worth playing with. Like this is where our pop-up EX was originally based off of. And you'll note right inside of here, right? This is, it's legitimately used inside of here. This is also where the pack icon styling stuff came from. So I'm tempted to take a look at re-leveraging this. Yeah, see this section. Because they do have a theme manager set up here. And I am tempted to take because when I first looked at this, I looked at it and went, nah, that's not really what I want to use in here. But I want to take one more pass at this and confirm that before I do so. So, because there's a lot of extra tooling and things that have been built inside of here for doing this. And before I spend a bunch of time reinventing the wheel, I want to make sure that this is not a cleaner solution. There's a handful of things in here that I'm not thrilled with. Some of this, like the theme manager current, I don't like the static stuff. It bothers me. It makes it hard to test. It doesn't play nice with like MVVM stuff as well. So it's like, I don't like this. But there may be ways to smooth some of that over to make it work well. So, like I said, I want to give this thing another look because there's a lot more here, and I would be rebuilding some of this. But if I can gen code into something that plays nicely here, this might be a worthwhile thing to take a look at. The other thing is it would mean bringing in a new NuGet dependency. And previously, the material design library has been we'll say avoids dependencies like the plague. Because when you bring in material design and XAML, you don't get extra dependencies. And the only thing that kind of comes when you take extra dependencies is then you run the risk of, well, what if the dependency doesn't rev as fast as I do? What if I need a change, but they don't have it in yet, right? There's all these extra things that come along with it. Not overly concerned with that with the Control-ZX library. The people running this, you'll note, this is the same guy, Bastian Schmidt, who builds Snoop and whatnot. You'll note this is the same person who builds my app. So it's like, man, not real concerned. Like this is a very reasonable library. Interesting, it says Net 5. See, this is one of those other things I want to look at. Has it revved for Net 7? Does it need to? May not need to. Little things like that. So I want to take one more pass at it just to make sure that I'm really clear on what's there and why I would reject it. Probably actually write that down. That's one of the things I need to do better at, is documenting the decisions and the why behind the decisions. Because anybody can figure out the what, but understanding the why gets really hard. But I think with that, I may wrap up for the night so that I can finish getting tomorrow's presentation done. So it will be a talk on Maui. Okay, real quick though, because I'm rather proud of this. I'm pretty sure this is going to be my opening slide for tomorrow. Not 100% certain, but I'm thinking it's a pretty good opening slide. It's a pretty good one. That's my opinion. But before I disappear, I owe people an answer to a brain teaser. Let's jump back to that real quick. Okay, so part 1 brain teaser. You'll recall we have 2 strings, and we are able to mutate the strings by taking the reference to our source string, grabbing a pointer to where that's at in memory, and then just iterating through it like you would an array, and just overwriting the characters. Huzzah. But then how do we do it when we don't pass in any parameters? And this is where things get a little weird. So here's the really fun part. The solution here. Mutate string content. Hey. Seriously, Copilot? I give up. Copilot, you're spoiling the ending. Copilot's 100% correct. So you'll note that this test immediately starts passing. And so this might make you question a little bit. Well, hang on. How is this constant string magically linked to whatever's happening down here? Because you know, this one just passed in 2 string literals. Right? Nothing fancy about these at all. The thing to understand, and what this is abusing, is what's called string interning. So because strings are, I think this is accurate, the most common data type, at minimum, they are a very common data type. And having duplicate strings is kind of wasteful. Because strings are immutable, the .NET will use what is called string interning. Effectively, rather than creating multiple duplicate strings, it will just have one instance of that string. Which, that's great when your string is interned. And no one's mutating it and doing bad things with pointers. So, in this case, because these are constant strings, string literals, compiler knows about them, it looks at those and goes, hang on, I got you. These are duplicate strings. I'm not going to allocate, 1, 2, 3 strings that are all identical. I'm just going to do one. You're welcome. I'll save you some memory, and we'll just have one string that's labeled Kelly rather than 2, which is great, but it means that all 3 of these strings, there's really only one of them, and so when we mutate it, we're mutating them all together. So there's the answer to the brain teaser. String interning. It's wonderful. It saves you space. Not having duplicate strings is a good thing. But yeah. And don't do bad things with your strings and mutate them. This is bad. Don't do this. Don't do this. It's fun. Don't do it. This is a don't try this at home moment. Or actually do go try it at home. It's programming. You should have fun. Don't ship it. Let's do that. Do this only at home. Don't ship this to production. This would be bad. Cool. So with that, I'll tell everyone thank you for coming and hanging out. Justin Bieber, as always, love the questions. Very much appreciated. Like I said, I'm thinking next time we might do Community Toolkit 8.1. I'm thinking. My 8.0 video is one of my most popular on YouTube, so 8.1 released, it seems only prudent to do a video specific to that. So that may be what we do next time. We'll see. See how it goes. But for now, I'll tell everybody happy coding. See you all next time.